Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. I am Anthony Gamer, and I am Red the Fox. And today, for Anthony and Red's Top 10, we're going to discuss our top 10 favorite Atari 2600 prototypes. The Atari 2600, also known as the Atari VCS or Video Computer System, has the distinction of being one of the greatest video game consoles of all time there. It had more games than just about any other console and has gone on to legendary status. However, one interesting aspect of the console is that it seems to have more prototypes than any other game console in history. That's correct, Red. Now, for those of you that are new to this channel or may not be familiar with the term prototype, prototype is simply an unreleased game. The game may have been started, completely finished, but it was not released. Now, we're not going to go through here and explain to you why each and every game on this list here was not released. Oh, that's correct, because if we did that, we'd be here forever. When it comes to the Atari 2600, Atari 5200, and Intellivision, ColecoVision, and Magnavox Odyssey 2, one of the main reasons these game systems had prototypes at all is because of the video game crash of 83 and 84. And again, we're not going to get into that either because we would be here forever just explaining that. Yeah, and there's lots of documentaries out there about it. In fact, you did that interview there with that kitchen guy about, the whole thing with the video game crash, so we're not even going to go there. What we're going to talk about today are some of our all-time favorite unreleased games for the Atari 2600. Yeah, and the funny thing is a lot of these unreleased games are actually better than some of the games that did get released, but we won't get into that. Anyway, so we are just about ready to start, and before we do, we're going to give our usual disclaimer. We mean absolutely no disrespect by any of our top 10 lists. These are simply our opinions on things. We're not saying that our opinions are better than yours or that we're right and you're wrong. These are strictly what we feel. So without further ado, let's get into the games. Okay, our very first game here, the number 10 spot, is Thwacker. This was programmed by Charlie Heath for Activision. And in this game, now this is the way I interpret it, so you might interpret it differently. This little guy here is, I think, the band instructor, and the instruments have gone haywire and are trying to kill you. The only way to stop them is to get specific notes, and then they'll start playing a song, and then you can grab those bad instruments. You always got to start with the treble clef, of course, and no, actually that's how you end it, right? That's how it is. You end with the treble clef, right? But anyway, you go around and pick up these prescribed notes, and you are trying to stop these instruments from killing you. It's a really fun game, but boy, it gets hard pretty quick, and the bounce in there is something else. But overall, I tell you, this game is a whole lot of fun, and I'm really glad that somebody actually finished the game, because before, in earlier releases of the prototype, you couldn't go automatically to the next mission, but now they make it so that you can. So if you get a chance to check this game out, I highly recommend it. And at the number 9 spot, we have Archaeology. This was set to be released for Sparrow Records and was programmed by Paul Walters and George Hefner. In this Christian-themed game, you take on the role of Noah, and you are going around and opening the stalls for the animals. Of course, if that was all there was to it, it wouldn't be much of a game. Now, would it? Nope, it sure wouldn't. Okay, so you've got some animals, birds are flying through the air, and you got a duck, alligators are running across the floor, and there's a porcupine at the top of the screen that's dropping quills on you. Did you ever figure out why they're doing that? I have a feeling it's because they're tired of being cooped up for so long. Oh yeah. And if you can make it past the opening door stage, next you have to feed all those animals. They'll pop up randomly and you go by and feed them and then close the door afterwards. Really a cool platformer game, and I think Matt Reichert of Atari Pros put it best when he said there's truly something for everyone on the Atari 2600. It's just a shame this game wasn't released. Checking in at the number 8 spot, we have Grover's Music Maker. This was set to be released by the CCW, the Children's Computer Workshop. It was programmed by Stephen Keith, and Laura Scholl did the graphics. In this game, you take on the role of Grover, and you can make some music yourself and he'll dance to it. But the main idea of this edutainment game is to pick particular songs, and then you and I guess an opponent or you and your parents or whoever try to guess the names of those songs. The game's not complete as they don't have songs for every letter. And I'll be honest with you, Larry and I did a Anthony and Larry play with this early on, a while back, and we couldn't name all of the songs. Some of those we never heard of, but overall it's a really fun game, and it does round out, or would have rounded out, the great CCW games that were released for the Atari 2600 and for use with the kids controller. And next up at the number 7 spot, we have Rush Hour from Comavid. In this game, you take on the role of this car, and you are trying to weave your way in and out of traffic, destroying cars in front of you, but the main objective is to destroy these car carriers ahead of you before they drop the cars in front of you. It's a really cool game with a cool concept, all very original there. Oh yeah, but the problem here is that all the glitches and stuff, it wasn't cleaned up at all. I think if the game was cleaned up, it probably would have got itself a higher place on this list. At the number 6 spot, we have Lasercade. This was set to be released by the company called Nvidia. And in this game, you are like at a shooting gallery, and this was actually a 3D shooting gallery, which was kind of cool because I don't think anything else had been done up to that point. And in this one, you are shooting at these targets. Of course, if there was not something to kind of slow you down, it wouldn't be much of a game. So you have these mirrors that are moving around and they're trying to stop you. If you shoot one of the mirrors when it's facing you, it bounces the laser back at you and you become momentarily stunned, especially since you're trying to shoot all these targets in a set amount of time. That can be kind of a pain. But if you shoot the mirrors when their back is to you, then you get them out of the way. The bonus round, you're trying to shoot out these candles, which is really cool. Overall, the game is a really neat game and kind of shows how a master programmer like this gentleman lead actor can turn a concept like this and make it doable on a system that had the limitations that the Atari 2600 had. And at the number 5 spot, we have the Alligator People. This was set to be released by 20th Century Fox and was programmed by John Russell. Yeah, this is the one that's based on that really bad 50s sci-fi horror movie. But the game itself is really a lot of fun. You take on the role of Jane Marvin, and you have to save her husband and friends who are turning into alligator people due to a failed medical treatment. Jane, who the character looks like a syringe, must shoot each person at the top and bottom of the screen with special alligator antidote until they're cured. And then you have other alligators coming after you, and they're trying to stop you. And then you also have the walls that keep changing all the time, trying to squish you, which is most of the way that we ourselves got killed, not by those other alligators, but by getting squished by the walls. Really a fun game. It's too bad the movie wasn't as good as the game, but we could do a whole separate episode on bad movies that made great games. That's a good idea. Yeah, I'm glad I thought of it. And our next game is Elk Attack. This was programmed by Mark R. Hahn and was set to be released in 1987. What's this game got to do with elks? Nothing at all. Actually, the game itself is actually a port of an obscure Taito game called Electric Yo-Yo, which is actually also a whole lot of fun. In this one, you are this yo-yo and you're trying to pick up the blocks, but these evil monsters or worm-like creatures are trying to stop you. It's a really fun game, although the sound can get kind of annoying pretty quickly. Not a bad port. According to Matt Reichert, he felt it could have used a little more work, and we agree, but actually, in the state it's in, the game is still a whole lot of fun. And at the number 3 spot, we have a game based on one of my all-time favorite movies, and that is Planet of the Apes. This was set to be released in 1983 by 20th Century Fox and was programmed by John Marvin. In this game, you take on the role of Taylor, and you are trying to make it through Ape City, avoid the apes, go to the Forbidden Zone, and make your way to the ruins of the Statue of Liberty. Really cool game, and it looked like it was ready to go. I didn't see like any glitches or anything like that. Oh yeah, the game itself is just a whole lot of fun, and for anyone who has been disappointed with the later Planet of the Apes games that were released, like that terrible one I believe for PS1. This is a very welcomed respite for those people. Highly recommend it myself. We've played it several times, just like this knucklehead here has watched a movie at least 10,000 times, and you'll probably want to do the same thing. And at the number 2 spot, we have Kabobber. This was set to be released in 1983 by Activision and was programmed by Rex Bradford. Not much is really known about the development of this game, and actually Atari Age themselves had a contest to figure out a story behind it, and what they came up with was that you are these Kabobbers and you are trying to get to this Princess Boofski before she reaches the rainbow at the end of the screen, and your little creatures can actually jump on the Boofskis and try to make it to her. Funny enough that you are basically trying to jump on them before they jump on you and make it to the right side of the screen. You have other enemies. You have the Goofskis, the Cholos, the Stroofskis, the Boop. You have eggs, and of course the princess herself. Overall, the game is just so much fun and very addictive, like you would kind of expect an Activision game to be. Well, yeah, why don't you tell them about how you gave yourself a patch? I didn't give myself a patch. I felt that I earned it. There was a gentleman on AtariAge.com in the forums that was selling patches for unreleased games, and since I enjoyed and had played Kabobber so much, and I felt I did a great job, I purchased a patch from him. Like in back in the day, you would earn patches for playing Activision games, so I got it. Yeah, and you also got that letter where it says that Activision says you're a loser. That's true. I'll show those off someday, but definitely one of my all-time favorite games and prototypes, period, and that is Kabobber. Alright, and now it's time for the number 1 spot. Yeah, now if you've been watching this channel for a while, and if you've had to listen to this knucklehead, whatever, for as long as I've had to, I think you'll pretty much figure out what the number 1 game is. Well, let's see if you're right. And the number 1 prototype for the Atari 2600 is Pursuit of the Pink Panther. Yeah, no surprise there. You've been going on about that game for a while. Yeah, I actually remember, if you saw that episode, I actually borrowed a cart from a friend of mine in order to play it. Because at the time, there were arguments, of course, going all over Atari Age forums about whether the game could be dumped or not. And then, of course, Thomas Jensch did it. No surprise. But anyway, the game itself was set to be released in 1983 by Probe 2000 and was programmed by Roger Booth, Todd Marshall, Robin Daniels, and Jim Wickstead, who designed the game. In this game that is based on the cartoon series and thereby the series of movies with Peter Sellers, you take on the role of the Pink Panther, and you are trying to steal the Pink Panther diamond. In the first mission, you are trying to build a bridge that Inspector Clouseau keeps dropping bricks to try to stop you. The second mission, you are trying to find the right combination of elevators. Look out for that dog and for someone throwing a pie and for an explosion. And ultimately, in the third mission, you are trying to get the Pink Panther diamond itself. Overall, I would have to say one of the greatest advancements in gaming at that time. It's just a shame the game wasn't released. Part of the problem was the fact that it needed 2 chips inside the cart, a RAM and a ROM chip. However, now it is readily available to be downloaded and will work on various multi-carts. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Anthony and Red's Top 10. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. If you did, let us know by giving us a great big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when we upload new episodes. Yes, also don't forget to visit us on our various social media platforms, including Blogspot and our new Jeopardy Labs, where you can find Jeopardy games for not only about gaming, but also for education, like English 12, English 11, physics, and other sort of things like that. Well, until next time, I am Anthony Gamer, and I am Red the Fox, and we will see you all in the next edition of Anthony and Red's Top 10. Have a great New Year. See you soon. Bye. Goodbye, everyone.